Video games are an ever-evolving industry that continues to shift more towards an always online model, with games prioritizing online play, and oftentimes that comes at the cost of what I consider good old fun. I'll never forget the feeling of being inside of a Walgreens or a Barnes & Noble and flipping through a video game magazine looking for cheat codes. There were entire magazines dedicated strictly to cheat codes, not to mention I had my Game Informer or my Game Pro subscription. Even Nintendo Power would print some cheat codes, and it was always so exciting to find out what cheat codes were in the game, type those in, and see what you were going to unlock. In a way, it was almost like the early days of DLC before they charged you for it and required you to have an internet connection in order to access it. This was basically DLC that was built into the disc. I mean, take Tony Hawk Pro Skater, for instance. Being able to unlock like Darth Maul, that was so cool, and it just blew my mind back in the day. Not to mention all the cheats that made games easier or just different. I remember playing Madden 05, and there were all kinds of cheat codes I'd put in for things like, you couldn't get tackled, or the other team's quarterback had a 0 passer rating and would throw like a lame duck type throw, or you could kick a field goal from 100 yards away. Just these bizarre things that I would just try out because there was a cheat code for that, and it really added to the game. And it took something that was a realistic football sim in Madden 05 and kind of could spin it into almost like an NFL Blitz style game. And then on top of that, you bet I had an Action Replay back in the day for both my PlayStation 2 and my Game Boy Advance. Actually, I think the one I had in my Game Boy Advance was a GameShark, but it was really cool to be able to put your Pokemon cartridge into that thing, put it in your Game Boy Advance, and just do all kinds of crazy stuff. Be it having 900 Master Balls or getting whatever legendary Pokemon you want. I remember modifying saves for my friends back in the day. If you got into modifying too many things, it could cause corruption in their save or just all kinds of weird glitches. And for a bunch of kids that had 50, 60 hours and Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire, and we'd, long beaten the game and even the post game. It was really cool to be able to get more out of the game, more bang for our buck, really, by just adding in these cheat codes. And unfortunately, these days of cheat codes and action replays and whatnot are long behind us, particularly as games continue to go more online. Obviously, that would be not so much using cheat codes anymore. If you're doing something like that, you're on a modded console and you're hacking, and the long arm of the law is going to come down on you as far as getting your console or your account banned. We went from these being, cheat codes being something that developers willingly included into their game to it being something that modders included into the game and the developers outlawed. We really went on a complete 180 in terms of how we treated that. So in a world where the Action Replay and the GameShark are long forgotten, and as are really traditional cheat codes for the most part, in the normal sense of being able to put them in the game, I'm happy that there still exists one program in particular that operates on modded 3DSs and modded Nintendo Switches that provides a sort of cheat code experience for people, and it's definitely made playing the Breath of the Wild a ton more fun for me. Honestly, Breath of the Wild was not something that I was super excited about. I felt like traversing from one location to the other just took so long. I know that's part of the fun of the game, but it wasn't for me, so it was awesome to see the different cheats I could use on the game using an application called Checkpoint. Now, of course, in order to use Checkpoint, you have to have a modded 3DS or a modded Nintendo Switch. So in the case of the Nintendo Switch, obviously modding it's a little more difficult. But when I got Checkpoint set up on there, it works just like it would on the 3DS. So on either of them, Checkpoint is an application that allows you to back up your saves, save them to your SD card, so that you can copy those saves over to your computer, transfer them to another Nintendo Switch or 3DS. It's completely up to you. You're able to export the save so that it's not tied to your account in particular, and it can be imported into another console that's using Checkpoint. In addition to that, Checkpoint also offers different save game modifications, or really just cheats in general that you can use. So like, for example, for the Breath of the Wild, I was able to increase the number of arrows I had. I was able to do like infinite health, infinite stamina. I could do super high jumps if I wanted to. There were all kinds of cheats I could turn on. I kind of picked and chose a balance of them that I felt like would make the game more fun, but at the same time not making the game be too easy. But in particular, where this comes in is on the 3DS, because I think the 3DS, obviously much easier console to mod. It's much more accessible to get Checkpoint up and running on the 3DS. It's not just Checkpoint though. While that works for the majority of games on the 3DS, if you're playing Pokemon, PKSM, it's basically a Pokemon Bank equivalent. That has been my GameShark experience, really, that I was so nostalgic for. That's been the GameShark experience that I've been able to have on the 3DS as I play through some of the newer titles. So basically on PKSM, you see a whole look at your box, your party, all of your Pokemon that you got available to you there. The UI is actually really intuitive because it looks like the UI in the game when you're navigating the Pokemon box. And then of course the sprites are the same, so that all looks really good. And you can completely modify the Pokemon here. So for instance, if I don't want to do a trait evolution on a Haunter, I'll just go in here and I'll just change the Haunter to a Gengar, because that'll get the evolution done. I can even change the ball the Pokemon is caught in, change the IVs. You can change the level, you can change the nature, you can change the moves they know to make it even be moves they could never learn in the first place. I mean, it's wide open. Anything about the Pokemon you want to change. You want to turn your Rattata into a Mewtwo, you can. You want to just spoof a Mewtwo and just create one out of thin air, you can do that too. There's so much you can change with every Pokemon. It's really just completely wide open. Not to mention that if you want to have 900 Master Balls, like I used to want to have back in the day, you can do that too. It's just bizarre to me. It blows my mind. Something I feel very nostalgic about, being able to do this on my Pokemon saves and really just mix things up and keep things fresh. And I think that it does a great job of that. So if you're into cheat codes and you're like, why haven't we seen them in games anymore? Well, you're not going to, because of the online aspects of so many games. But if you got a modded Nintendo Switch, a modded 3DS, definitely check out Checkpoint. And there's also other applications you can get for emulators that let you run cheats on older games. And I think that honestly, it adds a whole nother level of excitement to a game that I feel like it wouldn't have otherwise. Thank you guys for watching. I'm Bailey. I'll see you in the next video.